Before we begin, hit subscribe so you never miss stories as dark or this real. They found the footage at 4:13 a.m. A single corrupted video file buried deep inside Dolphin Prison's internal surveillance system. No timestamp, no audio, just a flickering hallway, a sliver of shadow, and an inmate who appeared to vanish between one frame and the next. When the guards first saw it, they thought it was a glitch. But then the alarm sounded. Sector C was empty. The door to holding cell 6 was still locked from the outside, but the man inside, Raymond Holt, was gone. Detective Mara Quinn arrived before sunrise. Even in full daylight, Dolphin Prison looked like a place where sunlight had to fight to get through. Gray concrete stretched across the coastline, surrounded by fog thick enough to swallow the horizon. Built on an isolated peninsula, the facility was designed to be escape-proof. No one gets in, no one gets out, the warden always said. Yet someone had. Or something had happened inside that cell that no one could explain. Quinn stepped into the corridor where Holt disappeared. The walls were cold, a pale green tint under the fluorescent lights. The air smelled of damp steel and disinfectant. She saw the door to cell 6. No scratches, no damage, no forced entry. When she leaned closer, she noticed a faint smear on the bottom hinge. Not blood, not dirt, something like graphite. Security breach in a maximum isolation block, Quinn muttered. Someone planned this. The guards brought her the last confirmed sighting of Holt. In the footage, he sat calmly on his bunk, staring toward the camera as if waiting for someone or anticipating something. Then the screen glitched, white noise static, and when the image returned, the bunk was empty. Quinn studied every detail of the room. Nothing was out of place, except a single folded wrapper on the floor near the wall, a mint gum wrapper. Dolphin Prison didn't sell gum, and Holt had no visitors. Someone was in this cell, Quinn said quietly. Officer Ryland, a veteran who had worked there 12 years, shook his head. Impossible. No one accessed this block except me, Holland, and the warden, and the logs show no entry from midnight to 4. Logs can be altered, Quinn replied. They moved Holt's file to the briefing room. He wasn't the kind of inmate who caused problems. No gang ties, no disciplinary issues. Serving time for a nonviolent fraud case. Not someone who should vanish without a trace. The deeper Quinn read, the stranger everything became. 2 weeks earlier, Holt filed a confidential complaint, sealed by the prison inspector. Whatever he wrote, it was enough to request emergency protection. But the complaint was missing. When Quinn asked the warden for access to internal files, he hesitated too long. His jaw tightened. His eyes shifted. There was a thin film of sweat on his forehead despite the cold room. What exactly was Holt afraid of? Quinn asked. The warden cleared his throat. He claimed someone was watching him. From where? He didn't answer. Before she could press further, a guard burst into the office. Detective, you need to see this now. They walked quickly to the maintenance tunnel behind Sector C. The guard pointed toward the concrete floor where a trail of fine dust stretched through the corridor. Not footprints, drag marks. A long, thin streak, as if something had been pulled along the ground. The end of the trail stopped at a sealed door marked authorized staff only. Quinn touched the handle. Cold. Locked. She nodded at the guard. Open it. He fumbled with the keys. The lock clicked. The door swung inward with a groan. Inside, the room was pitch black except for a single flickering bulb overhead. Metal shelves lined the walls. A faint breeze moved through the space, though there were no windows. At the center of the room was a chair, and on the chair, a small black device. A camera. Quinn froze. It wasn't Dolphin Prison equipment. It had been placed there recently. Dustless, untouched, waiting. She stepped closer, her pulse rising. There was a label taped to the bottom. A handwritten note. 5 words. You're looking in the wrong place. Detective Mara Quinn stared at the small black camera in the center of the room. The handwriting on the taped note looked rushed, but intentional. Someone wanted her to see this. Someone knew she was coming long before she stepped foot inside Dolphin Prison. You're looking in the wrong place, she whispered, repeating the words. Officer Ryland swallowed hard. Detective, This room should have been sealed. No one has used this storage area in years. Which means whoever put this here, Quinn said, has full access to restricted areas. Ryland shifted. Only staff would. Or someone with help from staff. She cut in. She lifted the camera carefully, turning it over in her hands. No brand label. No serial number. Just a small lens and a blinking green indicator. So faint it was almost invisible. When she pressed the side panel, the screen lit up one video file. Untitled. She opened it. Static. Then a hallway. Not the one where Holt disappeared. This one was darker, narrower, lined with pipes and electrical cables. A place somewhere deep beneath the prison. The camera angle shook slightly, as if someone was walking while holding it. Then it stopped in front of a reinforced metal door. A hand appeared in the frame. Male, wearing correctional officer's uniform sleeve. The hand entered a code on the keypad. The door opened. The room beyond was dim, but visible enough to recognize. A private holding cell. Empty. The guard in the video stepped inside and walked to the back wall. The camera zoomed in on the floor. A gum wrapper. The same brand Quinn found in Holt's cell. Someone was leaving markers. Someone wanted her to follow the trail, just not where she'd been looking. The video ended abruptly. Ryland looked pale. Detective, that door. I know it. It leads to the old medical isolation wing. It hasn't been active for her. How long? Quinn asked sharply. 6 years. 6 years. Long enough for most staff rotations to forget it existed. Long enough for someone to use it without drawing attention. Quinn headed straight to the warden's office. He stood behind his desk, arms folded, posture stiff. We need access to the old medical isolation wing, she said. His expression tightened. That wing is decommissioned. Exactly. Yet someone is using it. The warden exhaled slowly. Detective, you don't understand how this facility works. That's why I'm asking questions. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. Dolphin Prison was built with layers. Some official, some functional. Over the years, certain areas were kept off the books to manage high-risk situations discreetly. That isolation wing was one of them. Who had access? He didn't answer immediately. That information, he finally said, was controlled by internal affairs before the division was dissolved. Only a handful of people knew the codes. And before you ask, no, Holt wasn't ever sent there. Then why would he leave clues leading to it? Quinn asked. The warden's jaw tensed. Maybe he wasn't the one leaving them. That silence between them felt heavy. Finally, he added, I'll give you clearance. They descended into the lower levels of Dolphin Prison, past the laundry rooms, past electrical maintenance, past areas where even staff seemed uncertain what lay beyond. The air grew colder as they walked. The walls looked older, built from a different era. The warden entered code into a rusted keypad. The door clicked open. The old medical isolation wing was silent. Rows of rooms lined the corridor, glass windows clouded with age. Their footsteps echoed, swallowed by the emptiness. Quinn checked the first room. Empty. Second. Empty. Third. She stopped. On the floor was another gum wrapper. Fresh. She looked at the warden. Someone is leading us somewhere. They continued until they reached the very last door. It looked newer than the others, reinforced, polished, almost untouched. Ryland whispered, That door wasn't here when I first worked this wing. Quinn pulled out her phone. Recording. Open it. The warden hesitated, then slowly typed a code. The lock released. The door swung inward. Inside was a small room, clean, organized, brightly lit. And on the table in the center lay a stack of files. Holt's files. Files that were missing. Files that should have never left the main records room. But that wasn't the part that made Quinn's heart stop, because next to the files was a tablet. A tablet playing a live video feed. A live feed from inside Dolphin Prison. And on the screen, Raymond Holt, sitting calmly, staring directly into the camera, as if he'd been waiting for them. Raymond Holt stared straight into the camera, his face expressionless, almost eerily calm. Detective Mara Quinn felt the ground shift beneath her. Holt wasn't missing. Holt wasn't dead. Holt was somewhere inside Dolphin Prison, watching them watch him. The live feed flickered slightly, stabilizing into a clearer picture. Holt sat in a chair at a metal table, hands resting flat, posture rigid. The room around him was unfamiliar, newer, cleaner than anything else in prison. A single overhead light cast a circle around him. No identifying features. No windows. No door visible from the camera angle. "What is this?" Quinn whispered. The warden didn't speak. His lips pressed into a tight line. Ryland took a step back, as if the screen itself had pushed him. Quinn leaned closer. "Is this room in Dolphin Prison?" The warden swallowed. "Yes." "Where?" His silence told her everything. "You knew," she said. "You knew he wasn't gone. You knew he was being held somewhere off the books." "Mara," he started, but she cut him off. "Who runs this room?" The warden exhaled, defeated. Internal Affairs created it before the division was shut down. They called it the observation chamber. It was designed for inmates who claimed corruption, inmates who said staff were targeting them, inmates who might expose the wrong people. "Expose?" Quinn repeated. "Expose what?" The warden looked away. "Deals. Smuggling. Hidden operations. Things that were built into the system long before I arrived." Ryland's face drained of color. "Holt filed a confidential complaint 2 weeks ago, didn't he?" The warden nodded slowly. He wasn't supposed to. He wasn't supposed to know half of what he knew. Quinn felt a cold ripple move down her spine. "So you locked him in there?" "No," the warden said firmly. "I didn't. When I tried to retrieve him, he was already gone. Someone moved him before I even saw the report." "Then who?" Quinn asked. Before he could answer, the tablet beeped. A new message appeared across the screen. "Stop looking." Then the camera angle in the live feed shifted, just slightly, as if someone behind the lens had nudged it. Holt didn't react. He didn't move at all. His eyes never left the camera. Quinn's instinct screamed. He's being forced to sit there. The warden nodded, or he's been instructed not to move. She studied Holt's face. Calm, too calm. His breathing shallow. His eyes unfocused, like someone in shock or someone drugged. "We need to locate that room," Quinn said. "Now." Ryland clenched his jaw. "Detective, there are dozens of undocumented storage areas in this part of the facility. We don't even know which block this feed is coming from." "We will," she said. "Look for anything. Flooring patterns, ceiling types, light fixtures, anything that identifies a part of this prison." They rewound the live feed. Quinn froze a frame and zoomed in on the far right corner, where the shadows formed a strange shape. A curve, smooth, metallic. "That's not a shadow," she said. "That's a door hinge." A hinge she recognized. Ryland's eyes widened. Sector D, Sublevel 3. Those were installed during renovations 5 years ago. "Take us there," Quinn ordered. The walk to Sublevel 3 felt suffocating. Pipes rattled overhead. The lights dimmed every 20 feet. Quinn held her flashlight tight as they reached a corridor that wasn't on the official map. "This way," Ryland whispered. They approached a steel door identical to the hinge in the video. The warden entered a long code, too long for a normal room, which confirmed everything. The lock clicked. The door opened. Quinn stepped inside first. The room was empty. The chair, the table, the overhead light, everything exactly as in the video. Except Holt wasn't there. On the table sat another device. A radio transmitter, still warm to the touch. Someone had moved in minutes, maybe seconds, before they arrived. A single piece of paper lay beneath it. 5 words again. The same handwriting. "You're still too late." Quinn's pulse pounded. A sound echoed in the corridor behind them. Heavy steps. Purposeful. Not running. Approaching. Ryland turned. "Detective, someone's coming." Quinn grabbed the note, tucking it into her pocket. "Hide the room. No one can know we found it." The warden sealed the door quickly. The steps grew louder. Quinn whispered, "Whoever is doing this, they're inside the prison. They've been ahead of us the entire time." The warden whispered back, his voice shaking, "Detective, This isn't just about Holt. What do you mean? He looked at her, eyes filled with a truth he hadn't dared say aloud. Holt wasn't the first inmate to disappear. The lights flickered. The footsteps stopped just outside the hall. A voice echoed through the darkness. Calm, controlled, familiar. Detective Quinn, it said. You're going to want to put your hands where I can see them. Quinn froze. She recognized that voice. And in that moment, she finally understood. The person controlling everything had never been hiding behind the cameras. They'd been standing in front of her the entire investigation. End of story. If this story shook you, you're not ready for the next one. Hit subscribe so you don't miss it.